There is a Trojan horse inside your company right now, and you probably hired him. We call them B players. They show up on time. They do their job. They seem harmless. But Steve Jobs had a theory. A small team of A players can run circles around a giant army of B players. Why? Because B players attract C players. They hire people who make them look smart, not people who challenge them. Before you know it, you have a Bozo Explosion, a company full of average people doing average work slowly dragging you to bankruptcy. Today, we are going to learn how to spot the parasite before it kills the host, the power law of talent. To understand why hiring is so dangerous, we first have to unlearn the factory mindset. In the industrial age, talent followed a linear curve. If you were hiring someone to screw caps onto toothpaste tubes, the best worker in the world might be 20% faster than the average worker. There was a physical limit to how much value one person could create. But in the information economy, where you operate, this logic is obsolete. We have moved from a linear curve to a power law curve. In software code marketing strategy or sales, the best performer is not 20% better. They are 1,000% better. Bill Gates once said that a great lathe operator commands several times the wage of an average lathe operator. But a great writer of software code is worth 10,000 times the price of an average software writer. Think about it. An average engineer might spend 3 months building a feature that doesn't quite work. An A player might realize in 10 minutes that the feature shouldn't be built at all, and instead automates the entire process with the script. One delivered negative value after 3 months. The other delivered exponential value in 10 minutes. This is called leverage. Yet, most founders still hire based on the factory mindset. They look for years of experience or university degrees, metrics that measure endurance, not leverage. They try to fill seats instead of raising the bar. When you hire a B player, you aren't just getting less output. You are adding tax to your organization. They require more management. They write sloppy code that needs fixing. They send confusing emails that require meetings to clarify. A players remove complexity. B players add complexity. And in business, complexity is the silent killer that slows you down until you stop moving entirely. The ego trap. If A players are so valuable, why don't companies just hire them? The answer lies in a brutal psychological flaw known as the Guy Kawasaki rule. It states simply, A players hire A players, but B players hire C players. When an A player, a truly confident, high-performing leader, hires someone, they want the absolute best. They are not afraid of being challenged. They want to be the dumbest person in the room because they know that is how the company wins. But a B player operates differently. A B player is good but not great. They suffer from imposter syndrome. They are terrified that if they hire someone smarter than themselves, they will look incompetent by comparison. They fear being replaced. So consciously or subconsciously, they hire a C player, someone who is competent enough to do the work, but not bright enough to threaten the manager's status. And here's where the cancer spreads, because that C player eventually needs to hire a team. And C players do not hire other C players. They hire D players. Within 2 hiring cycles, you have gone from a company of excellence to a company of incompetence. This is the Bozo Explosion. You might think you are immune to this, but ask yourself, when was the last time you hired someone who intimidated you? Someone who openly disagreed with you in the interview? If the answer is never, you are likely falling into the comfort trap. You are hiring for cultural fit, which is often just code for people who make me feel comfortable, rather than people who push the business forward. The cost of the false positive. The most dangerous mistake a founder can make is acting out of desperation. When a key employee quits or a role opens up, panic sets in. You see an empty desk, you calculate the lost hours, you tell yourself, I need a body in this seat immediately. So you rush. You ignore the red flags. You hire someone who is good enough because you think some productivity is better than none. This is a mathematical lie. In hiring, there are two types of mistakes: false negatives and false positives. A false negative is when you reject a candidate who would have been great. This is annoying, but it costs you $0. The seat remains empty, and you keep looking. A false positive is when you hire a candidate who turns out to be bad. This is catastrophic. HR studies suggest a bad hire costs 15 times their base salary. But the real cost is not on the balance sheet. It is invisible. It is the time your A players spend fixing the B players' mistakes instead of doing their own work. It is the morale that drops when high performers see that mediocrity is tolerated. When you keep a B player, you are signaling to your entire company that average is the new standard. And the moment an A player feels that standards are dropping, they check out. They leave to work with other winners. So by hiring one bad person, you often lose your two best people. This is why Netflix famously wrote in their culture deck, adequate performance gets a generous severance package. They would rather pay people to leave than let them stay and dilute the talent density. The rule is simple. If it is not a hell yes, it is a no. Keep the seat empty. The bar raiser. So how do you stop the infection? How do you ensure you never hire a B player again? You need to implement a rule used by the world's most aggressive companies, the bar raiser. The rule is simple. Every new person you hire must be better than 50% of the people currently in that role. If you have a team of 10 engineers and you hire someone who fits right in the middle, you have failed. You have merely maintained the status quo. And in business, standing still is the same as dying. You need to hire people who raise the average. To find these people, stop looking at their resume, intercept where they are right now. Start looking at their slope, how fast they are learning. A B player has 10 years of experience, but they have really just repeated the same year 10 times. They stopped growing in 2015. An A player might have less experience, but their trajectory is vertical. They are the ones who teach themselves new skills on weekends. They are the ones who come to the interview with a list of things you are doing wrong. They don't want a job. They want a mission. When you interview, ask yourself, will this person raise the standard for everyone else? If the answer is not an immediate yes, then you are looking at a B player. Do not let them in the building. The only job that matters. Ultimately, as a founder, you have only one job. You are not the chief product officer. You are not the head of sales. You are the chief talent officer. Many entrepreneurs try to outsource hiring. They give it to HR, they give it to recruiters. They treat it like a chore because they want to get back to real work. This is business suicide. Building a company is simply the act of assembling a group of people to solve hard problems. If you assemble the wrong people, the problems do not get solved, no matter how hard you work. The difference between a billion-dollar company and a bankrupt one is rarely the idea. Ideas are cheap. Execution is everything. And execution comes from people. So look at your team today. Are they hell yes employees or are they just okay? If they are just okay, you know what you have to do. Hire slowly, fire quickly, and never apologize for having high standards. If you want to understand the invisible forces that determine why some win and others fail, make sure to subscribe. Welcome to the minority.